I'm David.
I'm Max.
And I'm Joanne.
And we at Nootralize will help you engineer happiness and cognitive performance in your experience. Alright, Maximilian Payu, welcome to the Nootralize podcast once again.
Thank you.
Today we're talking about stress.
Yeah.
What has been your experience with stress during the last couple of weeks?
It has been a not so great experience with stress. I've experienced some stress from work because I'm in this project and we have a delivery before Christmas and it's a lot of work and it's a tight schedule. And if we don't deliver on this, the customer, of course, is not going to be very happy about that. So I felt a lot of stress, and I think stress to some degree can be very useful, but if it's over longer stretches of time, at least I've experienced that my productivity declines and I engage a lot of hedonistic behaviors. I consume a lot more food, I think, because it's comforting. It's a comforting
right.
activity, so to speak, for me. And also I engage in self-pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
Which are two things that I don't usually engage in when I feel good.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've also experienced this chest pain, which is not that great either.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the not very nice experiences of stress over longer stretches of time. Luckily, I haven't experienced this kind of stress many times in my life, so I'm happy about that. And I'm also happy now about the project. It's coming in. It's resolving. Those problems are resolving themselves. So, yeah, I'm feeling a lot better.
Nice.
But it was a bit intense, and I try to stay mindful about my experience.
Oh.
Well, I mean, just noticing how I'm feeling and understanding where it's coming from.
Mm.
And just seeing it for what it is. It's just a sort of a stimuli.
Right.
What has been your experience with stress?
My experience with stress has been not very... I haven't been stressed all that much because since I really started to focus on productivity in my life, which was about a year and a half ago maybe. Before that, I'd gradually tried to evolve as a person before that as well, but not in such a focused manner. But since I started focusing so much, much more on productivity, at that point I already had the understanding that stress is only going to impair your performance and your productivity.
Right, yeah.
And I've been lucky in that I've by and large had the power to decide myself what tasks I'm gonna engage in and what stressors I'm gonna expose myself to. So I wouldn't say that I've really ever been chronically stressed in my life.
What do you mean by choosing what activities to, or what stressors to engage with?
Yeah. School. I finished school here in Sweden at 19 about 6 months ago. And for the last couple of years, due to circumstances, I haven't really had to try all that hard, which means it hasn't been all that stressful, and I've had a lot of free time to decide what I want to do. So I've always, essentially in my life, had the opportunity to choose what I want to spend my time on, which a couple of years ago entailed that I spent a lot of time playing video games, and that wasn't very stressful.
Right.
And after I stopped doing that, I started listening to audiobooks while walking. And walking is one of the best de-stressing tools that I know of. That isn't very stressful either. And now that I've started working on other things which sometimes are more sedentary, so sitting down, which can induce stress if you don't take a walk, for example. Since I started working like that, I've never had chronic stress, I'd say, because I've always known that if I don't let myself recover, then I'll not perform as well. That's the entire goal of what I'm doing to accomplish something.
So having a long-term healthy level of stress in your life, how would you suggest, what activities or what habits do you need to cultivate to achieve that?
I think walks are great.
Yeah.
I also think that mindfulness is great. As you said, even when you are in a stressful circumstance, if you are mindful, maybe you didn't say that explicitly, but would you say that it helped you?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah,
In what
definitely.
ways? In what ways?
Well, just noticing that I was stressed, or noticing or realizing where that feeling came from, and also realizing that I can't do better than my best.
Right.
Then just noticing that and realizing that made things better.
In what ways?
Well, I didn't experience the same kind of cravings for food, or even the chest pain, I think, had a bit of a relief from the chest pain.
So these cognitive, psychological understandings turned into even physiological changes.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, interesting. Well, other tools for stress that can be very useful, in my experience, and based on some scientific studies that I've read, and a lot of summaries and books on topics regarding stress. Some tools that can be helpful for de-stressing are, of of course, sleeping enough.
Yeah.
And getting high quality sleep as well. And that's a completely different topic, but there are things that you can do to improve your sleep quality, which will help you recover more quickly and prevent chronic stress.
Right.
I think that, of course, eating well is the fourth. And until I just said it, I mentioned experience engineering intervention, which is part of the basic package of what you really should optimize in yourself in order to get the 80-20 out of experience engineering. So sleep, exercise, nutrition, and mindfulness, those are really important.
Right. Yeah. I mean, when I was engaging in my hedonistic behaviors, eating a lot and procrastinating, I think they may give you some relief short term, but the activities that you should engage in are you should keep just engaging in the long term, feeling amazing activities that you normally do.
Yeah.
But what do you think about if you're feeling stressed and you are procrastinating and you are not performing? What do you think is the best activity to engage in at that point? Do you force yourself to work and try to finish stuff in order to relieve that source of stress, so to speak, or do you engage in activities that might take you back into a very productive state? What do you think? Because it's not very clear to me what the answer is.
Right. So, as I mentioned earlier, I have a very free choice in this question, what I will do with my time. But I suspect that is not the case for many of our listeners. So, with that caveat that oftentimes there are external requirements from your boss that will make it impossible for you to just take a couple of days rest or a couple of hours rest in the middle of the day when you're feeling stressed and seeing that your performance is being reduced. So if you have the choice to get back at it or to rest, if you're feeling stressed and noticing that you're starting to perform not as well, then I'd take a break.
Yeah.
That's a great signal, or that's an important signal from your body that you should be paying close attention to. And it's great to be mindful of that signal and to listen to it and act on it and take a walk.
Yeah.
And not work, in my opinion. But if you have these external requirements on your productivity, which entails that you cannot just take a break whenever you want to, whenever you feel that it will probably be best for your productivity in the long term, then I think that if you can, you should try to talk with your boss and say that this is not gonna help me or you in the long term, that I'm working in this stressed state.
Yeah.
Well, let's say you can't even do that. Like, that doesn't work. It's not going to work, or you tried it and it didn't work. You need to perform like these next couple of weeks. And you already have, as I think that you do, for example, most of the basics you've already got covered. You eat well, except for when you're stressed. You exercise well, you practice mindfulness, and you sleep well.
Yeah.
There have been studies showing the efficacy of, for example, ashwagandha in chronically stressed people. So, using ashwagandha for the purpose of helping you handle stress better, it's scientifically proven that it does work in chronically stressed people. So I would recommend trying it out if you're in that situation. It can definitely help you feel better and perform better.
I mean, maybe perhaps the only thing that you need is like a nudge towards the right direction, so that you'll get out of that negative spiral of stressing and then having your productivity decline, and then stressing more because you're not being productive. So perhaps that's the only perhaps that's the only thing you need, like a small nudge, and perhaps that's ashwagandha. You try it.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting application of nootropics, and maybe the most important application of nootropics in specific circumstances, such as this one, where you're chronically stressed and you're in a negative spiral of your productivity declining and your well-being declining because of that, and your stress declining because of that, or increasing rather. That's a great application of a nootropic. In this instance, it's ashwagandha. But another instance where it could be very useful is using nootropics for motivation. Right. If you see that you can use uridine monophosphate and you're motivated the entire day when you're using that, and you start seeing these results that you can get results in your life. You've been depressed for a long time because you're just not getting anything done, and you're not improving, and you feel like everything in your life is bad, and you're not trying to do anything because you can't motivate yourself to do it. Then if you can get that slight nudge from uridine monophosphate, then you can start implementing better sleep, better exercise, better nutrition, better mindfulness, and maybe even advance in your career. Another example is when you use nootropics for social interactions. If you use ashwagandha and notice that your social anxiety decreases, then you can condition yourself to be comfortable in social interactions. You can start finding phrases and tonations that you feel comfortable in. You can start finding ways of communicating with people that you feel comfortable with as a person. And that will transfer to your non-ashwagandha using self as well, because you practice those habits. That's definitely my experience, and I think it just makes logical sense that you have better ability to practice something that you've practiced before. Like, you're going to be better at something if you've done it before.
Right.
And if ashwagandha can make you or help you interact socially when you've been socially anxious for all your life, that can be a great way to get you going.
Yeah, I mean, in general, I love this idea that you can, that, let's say, being fluent in a social situation or being super productive, those instances of that happening, they are not random.
Right.
They're it's something that you can engineer.
Mm.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if everything that happens in your life is just you experience it as being random, it's I think that makes it hard to find well-being.
Yeah.
Because everything just seems so random.
Yeah.
But so buying into that idea that you can engineer it, it makes everything so much easier.
Yeah. I like it too. I mean, experience engineering, it's a great thing to do, in my opinion. And it's a great thing to help others do as well. Which is why we have our mission, which is to reduce love and reduce suffering as much as possible in the world. And we have our values in order to decide on a daily basis in our operations here at Nootralize, in our communications, in our podcasting. What are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about stress, because a lot of people feel stress, chronic stress, and they need solutions.
Yeah.
So we have our values so that we can make these decisions based on them. And that is what we talked about last time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're done for today here. So I suggest that you go and listen to that if you haven't already. Thank you very much for joining me, Maximilian.
Thank you, David.
Thank you very much for joining me, listener, and we'll see you next time. All right. Thank you very much for listening to this episode of the Nootralize podcast. But please remember not to take anything that we said as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. And before you start experimenting with nootropics, please get the basics of biohacking right. So that is your sleep, your exercise, your nutrition, and mindfulness. They are going to get you much farther, much faster in terms of optimizing cognitive performance, happiness, or any other goal that you may have with your experience engineering. But when you want to start experimenting with nootropics, our app will be a great place for you to start. Based on hundreds of placebo-controlled human studies, we give you a nootropic recommendation personalized for you. So all you have to do is go into the app at beta.nootralize.com, link in the show notes, and enter the effects that you're looking to get from a nootropic. You can add up to 3. So let's say you want to improve your mood, you want to protect your brain, so neuroprotection that is called, and you want to improve your attention. So you add mood, neuroprotection, and attention to your search for a nootropic. And then you click search and you will have a nootropic recommendation at your hands based on hundreds of human placebo-controlled studies that we've gone through for you. And we'd love it if you leave a review on this podcast with some honest feedback. And other than that, thank you very much for listening once again, and see you next time.